Howdy, it's Mike Lucy here. I am joined by Rockstar Joe Harrison. Real quick, my name is Mike Lucy. I'm an ex-digital marketing geek turned insurance broker. However, I've stayed in touch with this guy right here. I don't know what side, depending on the perspective, one of these ways. I've stayed in touch with Joe, and Joe is one of my digital marketing cohorts, colleagues, mentors in some regards. So, Joe, who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
So I am the Director of Operations at Posh Detroit, which you can see the little sign behind me. We are a digital marketing agency. We operate in all 50 states. We have clients all across the country. And I am, a couple years ago, I was introduced to you, and that has been a very beneficial relationship for me. And I believe, hopefully, it's been mutually beneficial for you as well.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So today we're going to be talking about live video.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Off the cuff.
Yeah.
No problem. All right. So collateral to this video, or collateral to an article, however you want to look at it, the perspective, your perspective, however you want to look at it, there's going to be an article and a video. So on this video, we're going to be talking about what's in that article. And what's in that article is a written representation of what we're going to be talking about. Specifically, live video, specifically Facebook Live, and how it applies in the real estate industry. So truth be told, Joe is one of the, I'm going to call him pioneers in the space. He's taken the industry and is doing some very, very, very unique things. The other thing that is a little bit bizarre, I'm not gonna lie, we did this yesterday and we screwed it up.
You're going to tell him that?
I'm going to tell him that.
Well, I guess there's something for authenticity, right?
If we did it live, we wouldn't have this problem, right?
This is true.
Yes.
Very true. The funny thing is that most people think that the live thing will be a handicap, when in a situation where you're trying to create something in a more perfect world, you're actually probably better off just shooting off the cuff. So,
yeah. You know what? You and I love baseball. You know what I kind of equate it to? Like when you first start live streaming, remember that? Remember when you used to play sports?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the butterflies used to get? Like,
yes.
That's what your first couple times of live video will feel like.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. I think that's one of the things that I deal with often in handling those live broadcasts is just kind of talking somebody out of that feeling, and trying to get them to relax.
Yeah. So you got to throw a couple pitches, get warmed up,
That's right.
And once you're in the groove, you're good to go. All right, so let's talk about how this evolved. 2 or 3 years ago, I was really involved in the live streaming game. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, I had this OCD kind of mentality. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Long story short, I was an Android lover, an iPhone hater. When Facebook Live first came out, we converted all of our devices over to iPhones. Mm-hmm. and Apple, because you could only live stream from Apple mobile devices. So that's why we're now Apple people. But it was that important to me at the time. Now, I've come to evolve and learn that live streaming is just a tool. It's just a valuable tool that you put in your toolbox. But if you want to go do a robust, holistic job, let's say you're a realtor, which we're going to talk about here shortly, and your job is to go out and sell houses, Facebook Live isn't the toolbox that's going to sell that house, but it's going to be a powerful tool that you put in that toolbox to go sell a house. So Joe, why don't we rewind the clock, go back to the beginning, and let's 2.5 years ago, where was your mind when you thought that this might work in the real estate industry? What was your mindset?
Well, my first thought about it was obviously that it was a really incredible thing. I guess, if you want to describe it this way, my clients that were going to be adopting this have always kind of been on that cutting edge thing. They're always looking for that next thing that's going to give them the edge on helping their clients market homes and sell them. Mm-hmm. And so I talked it over with them, and obviously it was like, wow, this is really cool. How are we going to optimize this and bring it into the fold and make it ours? And obviously you were instrumental in that by introducing the concept, and, we brainstormed a lot of that stuff. And then when we came up with the actual plan to do this, it was like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do it like this way. We had a plan set up. We did it, and then we've moved into like evolution, right? We talk about evolution, evolving the product, the design, the practice of it, and it's changed over time. But that's much like sports. If you're playing baseball and your swing is off kilter, you're gonna change your stance. You're gonna change your hand position on the bat. Maybe your grip, everything. Your swing angles, the whole 9 yards, to get a better return on your swing.
Yes. So one of the things as you're speaking, I'd like to emphasize here is when the live streaming game came about and started to evolve, there were a bunch of talented media marketing, digital technologists, engineer kinds of folk that jumped into it and kind of led the charge into the live streaming space. And what was missing back then, I can honestly look back and admit what was missing were subject matter expert practitioners or industry specific practitioners, people in specific niches that had the skills to take these tools and use them. I always say publicly, I said, there's nothing more boring than a live streamer talking about live streaming. And I still. You agree?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out ways that we're not putting people to sleep right now. So
the advantage for Joe, anyone here listening to Joe, is Joe's not a live streamer. He's a marketer involved in the trenches in real estate, or had been involved in real estate, that understands the technology. So Joe understands the benefits, the features, the how-to, and almost probably more important is how to talk your language. The engineers, the live streamers, the people that don't have the background in the industry or whatever industry it is, we're focusing on real estate, but whatever industry it is, that person that you're going to rely upon to consult you, they need to be able to talk your language. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's, and I think that's true everywhere, right? I mean, like, I think that's kind of how all this stuff goes, right? So, like, back when I got into doing digital marketing back in like 2011-ish, I had to learn, because I was working for a bunch of different smaller businesses in different industries. I had to learn their languages in order to talk their talk,
Mm-hmm.
And it was, so I learned medical, dental, all kinds of stuff that I had no clue about, but I learned it well enough to be able to do my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sort of adaptation is where you take, like what you're talking about, where you can take that industry specific knowledge base, apply it to the things that the engineers and the techies are bringing to you, and you can really start to make it work. And I think that's what we experienced doing this.
Yeah. So let's jump into the evolution. You and I keep throwing the word evolution out there. So let's talk through the evolution. So if you're someone out there, the guy in Seattle, the realtor in Seattle, the broker in Seattle, someone that's really far remotely away from us that caught wind of this conversation, caught wind of the article, and they write. And they want to learn more about how to take this technology, knowing nothing about it, put it into play, and evolve over what did it take you, 2 years?
I think we got to our like final iteration of the whole thing, I think about a year ago. So a year and a half, I'd say.
Okay. So A year and a half. And this is a smart person that knows what he's doing, and it's taken a year and a half to evolve. So it's not a quick fix strategy. It's a long play. It's not a sure play.
Most things are not, as you know.
Yes. So let's start at the beginning. You throw together your show. What were the first few things that you did? What were the first few shows or live streams? What did you do?
So the first few we did were we had all of our agents at houses that were hitting the market that week simultaneously, kicking it live to each one of them and saying like, hey, show us, 123 Main Street. And so that, whoever would be at 123 Main Street, and they'd say, hey, yeah, I'm going to show you the house. And they would go through the entire house.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of doing that, if you're taking 2 minutes to walk through an entire house, it makes that house seem very small, even if it's not. I mean, there are houses that, were 2,500 square feet, but the agent would walk through it in 2 minutes going over features and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the biggest issues we had at the beginning. Number two, obviously, manageability of kicking it all around like that. And I think we'll probably cover that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was really the first major issue we ran into, was the whole house method was making it seem very small.
And we don't want to get into the technical details. However, the first couple times through this, the first time through it, you were sending people out in the field, and just like a TV show would do, just like a news cast would do, you were the host, you were the in-studio host, and you were throwing it out to a reporter in the field. Mm-hmm. They were broadcasting back live. Everything happened real time. What were some of the challenges with that?
Well, I think it's almost any challenge on that end is the obviously the management of the live kickings. That can be difficult. And the other thing is scheduling. Trying to get, at times 10, 12 people available at a certain time can be very difficult. That's one of the biggest issues we ran into. Mm-hmm. Was like, well, I'm not available. I can't be there at this time, but I can be there at that time. And it was like, okay, well then, we're juggling too many things at once. Yep. And that's really, I think, where everybody kind of gets into when they start new projects, is you start to see how many balls are in the air and how do you take a couple of them out so that way it's a little bit more manageable at the time.
And the natural problem you have with the network as well was also an issue. I remember that. Yeah. Now, all right. So as you're speaking, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? So Joe was influenced by one of those engineering type people, right? And truth be told, that was
something like that.
so some of this was my fault.
Yes,
for recommending.
Absolutely.
However,
but it's a good fault to be take responsibility for.
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah. So you swung, you missed, and what was the next thing you did? Like, what was the next step in your evolution?
So now we're talking about, we're still sticking with the live concept, right? And so what we're doing next is we're saying, okay, well, we can't get all of you together at once, and this is too much work. So what do we do? Well, let's break them up. Let's do one at 8 a.m., one at 10 a.m., one at noon, one at 2, and just kind of segment each individual home, broadcasting live from each one, and we'll just do it at one time, one at a time. Mm-hmm. What we found there was, and there's definitely statistics out there to back this up, is that the one house thing wasn't long enough. By the time somebody was able to get the notification that we had gone live and actually click through to it, it may have been done. It might have been done because we decided to focus on one feature. Mm-hmm. To make the house look bigger, or not even necessarily look bigger, but to avoid making it look smaller, I guess would be the best way to put that. We took and just featured one piece of the house, because the end goal of this whole process was to drive foot traffic mm-hmm. to an open house that was being held that weekend. Mm-hmm. That was the whole goal of this whole thing. And so how do you do that? Well, if somebody walks you through an entire house, you've seen the whole thing. Why do you care? But the great finished basement, or the outdoor patio, whatever the thing was that was real attractive, we'd show you that, and we'd say, if you want to see the rest of it, come on out this weekend. We'll bring you in. You can take a look and see what it's like. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that, once again, is that you're getting very short now. Instead of going through an entire house, you're focusing on one room or one feature. And so what that was doing was it was doing too short. And so what people are doing is they click, oh, they're live, let me take a look, and then they'll already be over with by the time they got to it. Mm-hmm. Once that happens, once that initial, like, sorry you missed it comes out, they're not coming back to watch it later. Statistically, they are not coming back. And so how do you, then it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? Mm-hmm. That was the next issue that we ran into.
So as you're speaking, I'm thinking to myself, all right, so if someone's listening and they're really not familiar with live streaming, what's going through their mind right now? One of the questions, or one of the things I thought of, one of the questions is, why would you ever do a live streaming video when you can just pre-record it and throw it up on a media channel? What's the benefit to doing something live, Joe?
Well, there's a couple, well, you know, and I, like you said, for those of you that are watching that are not real familiar with this whole concept or the benefits of it, number one, it's a native platform to Facebook, so it's going to get better promotion organically, even throughout throughout your, throughout the news feed and everything else. The other nice thing about it is that when you go live, everybody who follows your business page gets a notification that you're live. Mm-hmm. So you'll get an immediate like, oh, they're live. I'll check this out. And then the next thing that I think is really kind of the benefit of it is, and we mentioned it earlier, the authenticity. That authentic, I'm a real person and I'm showing you this house in real time. Mm-hmm. It's that whole thing. Because, I mean, you can throw photos up of houses and you can put videos together that are beautiful, edited pieces that really, do a nice job of. But at the end of the day, people have gotten to the point now where they look at that stuff and they're like, well, yeah, but it probably doesn't really look like that. They have that sort of, everybody's got that skeptical mindset these days. Mm-hmm. And the real estate industry in particular is clouded with skepticism for a number of reasons. And so what we're trying to do in that situation is take the skepticism away by saying, look, this is a real human being in a house right now showing you this kitchen that exists. You can't edit it. You can't go through and doctor it up and make it look pretty. It's being shot through a phone or maybe a camera if you're doing, something a little more complex. But for the most part, it's being shot through a phone. So it's almost like the Snapchat of digital marketing. Somebody wants to see what you're doing right now, they'll ask you to send them a snap, and that's kind of how it goes. Sort of the same thing with live streaming. And so those are the real benefits to it. From a marketer's standpoint, you really can't get much better than that in terms of, those goals being achieved. And that's one of the things that works really well.
So I'll put a little bit spin on that as well. Is someone that used to, I'll say, trade time for money to help people with this stuff. I've evolved into someone that now uses these tools for my own business. So now I'm selling a widget, but I have all these tools at my avail, and I prioritize which tool fits where, when, how, and why. Mm-hmm. I will say this, that live streaming has a place. The benefits for me, I know, because I've done so much of it, is exposure. Like Joe said, when I publish a live video on a business page, a business, not your personal profile. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a business page for business purposes. Publish a live video, publish the same video that's not live, just to pre-record it, upload it. Your viewership's probably 150 to 100 times better with that piece of live media.
Absolutely.
Try it out sometime. Don't believe me? Try it out. Second thing is the additional spin I'll put on top of this. And this is a little tech tip here. If you have a piece of pre-recorded content, a video, you can use tools that are available in the marketplace, software. And you can take that same video that might get 10 views. You might have 1,000 followers posted on your page. You'll be lucky to get 10 views. I'll be honest. You'll be lucky to get 10. Mm-hmm. Take that same piece of media, stream it live, even though it's pre-recorded. I guarantee you get at least 20%. So you're going to take 10 views and you're going to turn it into at least 200, at the very least. This applies on Facebook. All right, but here's the big one. You ready? Mm-hmm. This will take you to the top of YouTube rankings. That strategy I just described.
Very true. Very true. That's it's interesting to me too. I sometimes laugh because I'm kind of in that weird age range now where like I'm not quite a millennial, but I'm not quite like Gen, whatever. Right. And so there's all these people out there that are doing a lot of this live streaming stuff, and they're live streaming themselves playing video games and all that kind of stuff. And those guys are, they're actually making money by doing this. And I was like, wow, that's really a unique concept. And part of me is like, it's video games, who cares? But people are watching it. People are watching people play video games. So they've done something. And these guys are always cranking it on YouTube. Always. Yeah. Every time I'm on there, I see, watch me play XYZ game. I really don't know. I don't play video games. I wish I had the time. But, it's just amazing to me what what these guys do. And to me, it's like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. And as you probably know, YouTube is the #2 search engine.
Yeah. Hey, so we took a little detour. We're not supposed to be talking tech.
No, but it's going to happen. You get us together, and that's usually what comes out.
All right. So the next step, I wanted to circle back and talk about benefits, the technical or marketing benefits of it. We're going to talk about the business benefits here shortly, but what's the next step in your evolution? So you went from sending people in the field, bringing it back, trying to be a newscast, came across all kinds of problems, broke it up into little 1 to 3 5-minute snackable pieces of live media. That didn't work because you lost continuity, or you lost the captivity of the audience. What was the next step?
So the next step is, what do you do with all these pieces? And you kind of alluded to the solution a minute ago, but so we knew that the long form video got views. We got people engaged, watching, commenting, doing everything we wanted them to do. Mm-hmm. The short form videos were more manageable in terms of the production side of things. Mm-hmm. So the next step is to let's stake those small clips and stitch them all together. Let's take the best of both of these platform things that we've developed. Let's take the best features of both, mix them all together. I'll get behind the camera and get behind the mic and do a hosting type situation again, and we'll go from there. And that's sort of where we're at now with it. We've done some other things too, but for the most part, these live streams are done that way. So we've taken each individual thing. So now we're focusing on one room. Everybody's live with us at the time. And so we get a nice 7 to 15 minute long piece of content that's going to get people to watch, come back, do all that kind of thing. It works out really well that way.
Yes. And so that's where you're at now. So that's the evolution, kind of a 3-step evolution. You've come full circle. In the article, what I say is, Joe started, took a step forward, said, I got to take a step back, and then took one big step forward. So that's kind of that's how I perceived it, at least.
That's about right. Mm-hmm. All journeys have a little bit of this kind of trajectory.
Okay. So now let's put ourselves in the shoes of that broker, that guy or that girl who's a broker is in Seattle, and he's scratching his head, or she's scratching her head going, oh, this is a little bit interesting. I can see some value here. Number one, let's talk about business value. What's the short play, the long play? What's the business value here?
Okay, so there's a couple, especially in the real estate sphere. I mean, that's where we're kind of focusing today. Number one, if you are an agent and you have a listing appointment, and you go to that listing appointment, and you come in there and you're talking about photography, and you're talking about, marketing and all this other stuff, you're saying the exact same thing that every other single realtor has said to this person for however long. Yeah. When you walk in and you say, yeah, I've got photography, staging, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to drive a tremendous amount of foot traffic to your open house by broadcasting live and teasing people to come in by showing them the beautiful kitchen that you have, mm-hmm. or showing off this awesome open floor plan, or whatever, or how much natural light's flooding into your home. When you walk in and you're saying that, you're disrupting the industry in a way. You're disrupting the typical pattern. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why this particular client that we're kind of focusing on here is so good at what they do. Mm-hmm. It's because they are constantly disrupting the way things are done. The perception of realtors being, I'm going to put a sign in your yard, I'm going to put you on the MLS, and then I'm going to sit back and wait for your house to sell, is completely the opposite of what you see with these guys. The amount of time and effort and money they throw into marketing someone's home is outstanding. So there's your one piece of business. Your second piece of business is on the other side of the transaction. How many potential buyers are you bringing to an open house because of this technology, because of this little bit extra that you did? I can actually quantify that for them because I can see open house attendance numbers and which houses had live video done because we've tested it. It's, live video, people. No live video, people. It's amazing. The ones that have live videos get people in the door. Those are the ones where the agents are saying, oh, I've got 50 people coming into my open house in one day. I had 36 groups through here in 2 hours, like that's insane foot traffic for an open house. You go to some of these other open houses that you might see one other couple there. You might see 2 other people there the whole day. So there's your business. There's your exact trade-off between this marketing and the dollars that you're going to see. It's amazing.
I'm sold. Where do I sign? That was really good, Joe.
Oh, that's just what we're seeing.
No, I hear you. Really good. One other kind of small thing that might not seem important on the surface, but is one of the most important things, and that is who do you choose? So the broker out in Seattle, Washington, scratching their head. What you just said, they're like, oh my. Oh, so I can get more listings. I can get more buyers. Now I'm interested. I can make more money. Now I'm interested. So they start thinking to themselves, all right, I got a team of 30 agents. How do you go about picking the right people? How do you go about vetting your team, getting your team involved, identifying the talent, like call it talent in the acting industry. It's how do you do this?
So, we went through that whole process with these guys. We've had several that what you want to do is you want to find, and I always say this, you want to find that quirky one. That's your rock star in this situation. It's not even necessarily your top producer. It's not even necessarily, your top buyer's agent, your top seller's agent. It's really your top, like you're kind of offbeat one. Because that offbeat one is going to be able to be creative in that space in the house. I've got one in particular that will climb inside of dryers, that will stuff herself up in a bookshelf, that'll get into a sink. And that right there kind of gives everybody an idea like, oh, wow, that bookshelf is really deep. That built-in shelf is really deep. Wow, that sink basin is huge. Hey, that closet, that walk-in closet, that normal-sized person could lay on the floor and they've still got 3 more feet of room between their feet and the wall. Wow, that's a huge closet. One of the things that you always struggle with these kinds of videos is, and photography in general for that matter, is space. How do you really showcase space? The best photographers out there know how to do it. And the best video people know how to do it, and this is one way that it's done. So probably one of the more offbeat people that this brokerage has does the best videos, bar none. You need that. You need somebody you need people that can adapt, people that can take direction. You need people that are open-minded. You need people that can recall information and regurgitate it well. Obviously, you don't want to have messed up addresses and, dates and times or, whatever the case may be. So you need that. And you also just need somebody who's willing to put themselves out there. There's that person that the driven person will do it. It's that driven agent too. The ones that will, we've talked about this before, the ones that are trying to earn the Range Rovers, the ones that are trying to get the BMW, those are going to be the ones that are going to want to take this extra step. Those are the ones that are going to do that stuff. So if you can get a quirky one, a driven one, you want them to be professional, but you want them to be fun. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, it's hard to find balance in those two things, but I think that if you can find those people, those are going to be your talent. Those are going to be your people out there.
You mentioned another benefit that how you can communicate this to your team, or how you can help identify that perfect person. And the story you shared with me, and if I get it wrong, just say, Mike, no, you got it wrong, is you explain it or you described it as a person that's willing to go out for a listing that's not even their own, and they understand the value and the benefit of putting a piece of media out, mm-hmm. is just as important as selling that house right there, because now the entire community is seeing your talent in action as an agent.
Right. Your personal brand I mean, if I'm pitching this to an agent, I'm telling them, look, we're giving you an opportunity to get yourself some exposure that you're never going to get on your own. And that's, like we're talking about, the same thing. A brokerage Facebook audience is going to be 10 to 15 times bigger than your individual agent page, whatever. So you go live, 10 people might see it. We go live, 1,000 people, 2,000 people are going to see it. The last thing we put together, 31,000 views.
You know what? You mentioned some of these numbers to me. I'm a fact checker, right? I'm the guy that if someone's out there and they're talking trash, I go check it. So when Joe told me these, I didn't believe him, but I went and fact checked them. So it's real. It's real.
Yeah. We're not fake news around here.
All right. So the last thing is, once again, looking at it through the eyes or the lens or the perspective of this person way out there. I keep going this way. West is that way. So out in Seattle, I don't know why I'm picking on Seattle.
I think it's just, it's a place that's kind of further out from Detroit, But I'll talk to you if you're in New York. I'll talk to you if you're in Ohio. Well, maybe not Ohio. I'll talk to you if you're in Florida, wherever. But Seattle. Yeah, it's a great town.
So they're scratching their head. Now they're even more interested because this sounds really good. And they think to themselves, all right, I'd like to do this. Do I have the resource? Do I have the resources internally to pull this off? So will you talk for a minute about you? And we're going to assume that if this broker is truly interested in doing something like this, they're going to need a version of you. What are I think there's 4 skills that you can kind of mash them up, put them together, roll them up, and out the other end comes a Joe Karras. And what are those 4 skills? Or let me help you. I'll plant the seed. The 4 skills are technical, creative, marketing, and talent production. Managing talent, we'll say. So talk a little bit about you, how you pull it off, and what type of resources that person is going to need to pull this off.
Okay, so I can do that. And thanks for reminding me the 4 that we kind of. Well, I kind of know what they are, but to kind of make the conversation, more directive or directed, I would. And then you're doing a good job of that 4th skill right there. So anyway, what you end up doing in this situation? Obviously, the technical piece, you need to understand how to work the nuts and bolts of the system. You need to understand the broadcasting. You need to understand if there's types of software you're going to be using to incorporate into there. So you need to understand that part of it. One of the things that I think that, I probably would have overlooked at one point was even just that 7 to 10 second delay thing, but how do you use that, or how do you account for that in your process? Those are some of those little technical details. So you need to be tech savvy enough to handle that. From a marketing standpoint, how do you position this video to be effective? That's what I kind of touched on all of that evolution that we talked about. How do you make that? How do you optimize that? How do you maximize what you're doing? How do you make sure that most people are seeing it? How do you make sure that it's benefiting you in other ways? We did actually add a little feature to it a few weeks ago. In fact, we started marrying it to lead ads forms on Facebook. Yeah, and they can hear it, believe me, because step 1, you still got to learn the technical side of things. But we generate 40, 50 leads off of a couple of them. So
guess what I'm doing this afternoon?
Guess what you're doing?
Yeah, guess what I have some free time. Guess what I'm going to do this afternoon?
You are going to be building Canvas ads and driving leads to your insurance business.
I'm going to be doing live video.
Oh, cool.
Traffic to Canvas.
Cool.
Because that's brilliant, man. That's brilliant.
Yeah, we've been doing that for a while. It's actually been working really well for us. So that's been cool. So there's that, right? Like how do you take that piece, that content that you've created, and how do you use it? How do you manage it? The other thing you need to know is like you said, the creative side of it. What's going to look good on camera? What's going to sound good to somebody? How do you do that? one of the things that we noticed today, like I had a bunch of them doing like little live videos this weekend from their open houses. Half of them were chewing gum. I was like, guys, come on. Like, you can't, that's so distracting. You know, come on. So we dealt with that. And then, you know, the fourth piece, I think, like we said, is that talent management. It's that, how do you get that individual ready for the camera? How do you get them working through the steps to do this right? How do you tell them, hey, you're doing a good job, try this? You know, there's definitely like an element of that, because you need to get, you know, you're dealing with people who maybe have never done this before, you know, very first time. You got to kind of be a psychologist or a director of some kind and really learn how to do that. So there's all these things. And luckily for me, I'm sort of like a film buff. So I like, you know, directors, and I like reading about the way that they do certain things. And so that kind of helps me figure out, okay, well, maybe try this angle. Don't do it this way. Maybe, you know, jump over here and do it that way, or try this room, you know, that kind of stuff. So there's all those kinds of pieces have to be in place, I think, in order to really, I mean, you could do this. I mean, there's, you know, I mean, but to really effectively do it, I think that, you know, you need to have those skill sets in place, ready to go.
Gotcha. So the purpose of this video was, you know, what we did is we talked strategy. So we talked benefits, features, the evolution of Joe, how he used live streaming, a couple little hidden gems in there along the way. And we talked about, you know, how if you have a team, how to move forward, identify the path forward, and actually move forward. So collateral to this, collateral is the wrong word. Subsequent to this video and subsequent to this article is Joe and I we're planning on, we don't know exactly when, we're going to do a tactical version of this where we're actually going to start to share with you some of the tips, tricks, tactics, software, and other little things that are required to pull this off. We're not going to give away the farm. We're not going to give it all away, but we're going to give enough away for that. If you are if you are that person, that broker in Seattle, and you're dangerous, when given ideas, you're dangerous, we're going to give you enough ammunition to do it. Beyond that, if you are interested and you come to the conclusion that, you know what, I'm not capable of this, I don't have the resources, I don't know the people to do it, then that's where someone like Joe will come into play. Joe, can you speak for a few minutes about how you can help that person?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as we mentioned, you know, I'm the director of operations at Posh, and we are able to handle this facet of things for you. I can jump in and start helping you run these live shows for your own brokerage. As long as you're not in the Metro Detroit area, it's gravy. We sell out of zip codes around here, folks, pretty quick. So I can't be marketing for other people. However, we can do that. We can definitely help you. I can either serve as a consultant and kind of walk you through it, or I can do it for you. At Posh, we tend to do things for you. That's sort of more of our speed. Coaching isn't really on our wheelhouse. Primarily because I feel like it's sort of a waste. You might as well do the things that you do best and let me do what I do best, and we'll just go from there. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you can always contact us. You know, Posh Detroit, we'll be more than happy to give you like a quick run through and give you an idea of exactly how we can help you kind of take this really cool tool and put it in your toolbox.
Gotcha. And you know what? Once again, this is our second run through of this because the engineer yesterday messed this up.
Yeah, we got to talk to that guy.
I know. But I still have a passion for this. I have no stake in, you know, what Joe's talking about other than sitting here and listening and learning. Today, I actually learned a lot more today on the second time through than I did yesterday. Really? I feel, I have some marching orders. I'm like, I can take this information that Joe just shared with me because I understand it. And Joe explain something to me that could potentially put me ahead of my competition in a separate industry, and I'm going to do it. So thanks for sharing that, Joe. And
hey, no, it was great. It's always a good time to get a chance to talk with you. It's nice to have to do it twice, I guess, because then we get, you know, we got to talk a little bit more. Yeah. So yeah, but thanks so much for having me on, and I'm looking forward to getting through the how-to video with you. as well.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We don't know exactly when it'll be. I guess we're going to see how the first one plays out, what the reaction is.
We'll announce.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's
cool.
it.
Well, thanks
everyone.
Mike.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.